Anyways, yep, so moving on, we're next going to discuss Dead Man's Shoes from 2004. The story centers around Richard, who has returned to his hometown after a stint serving in the military, and he's come back to seek revenge on some local drug dealers who were responsible for his brother's death. It's a very simple story, but as I was saying earlier in the show, I feel it's a really well-written movie. There's definitely some great scenes, some great dialogue in the movie. It's one of those movies that you watch. I mean, for me personally, I think, and obviously this is a very low-budget movie as well, who needs a budget when you have such a great script and a great lead performance? I mean, just those two things alone really make this movie really good. And it feels really, because of the low-budget nature, it feels like a very raw type of movie. Like you could almost be standing across the street while these things are happening. That's kind of how I felt as I was watching the movie. I know you've only just seen this movie for the first time, I guess, in the past week?
Actually about 30 minutes before I started talking.
Okay.
So, I didn't know anything. I've never heard about this movie once before Chucky brought this movie up. And, it sounded interesting. I couldn't understand like a fifth of the dialogue because the accents are a bit much. But, I mean, that's obviously, it didn't really impact my, I don't think it impacted my viewing. But it certainly stood out. I thought the movie was decent and I sort of liked what it was trying to go for. But at the same time, especially toward the conclusion, I felt somewhat underwhelmed. I was hoping for a bit more bang, and I didn't really get it. I feel like there's plenty of decent things in the movie, but there's also some things that bothered me, especially the whole, like the sort of a dragged out revenge sequence. When, some of these guys are like extraordinarily messed up and spaced out on drugs, and they don't even have any idea what's happening to them. So the individual getting revenge at that time, I mean, they don't even know what's happening. It just seemed, I don't know, it's a personal choice, but if I would get revenge on somebody, I would want them to know why. And when they're that out of it, I just don't even know if they were capable of understanding why. It's just sort of a small thing, but just sort of bothered me. And there was a few other things throughout the movie that I just was hoping for a bit more. I was pretty interested when I started this one. And it's sort of a decent movie. It's somewhat emotional even, but it just didn't do everything I wanted it to do.
Well, when you're talking about how they're all like high, and as he's having, there's a few of them towards the end where he gets them all drugged up, and you're saying, well, wouldn't you rather them kind of be aware of what's going on? I mean, to be honest, they spend pretty much the whole movie aware that they're being chased, and they're actually quite scared throughout the majority of the movie. Even some of them are even crying.
Yeah, I actually, what you point out, it feels a lot different from a lot of American revenge movies. In an American revenge movie, there'll just be a gang of guys and just go shoot the guy. But this feels a lot more, almost, I guess you could say, realistic. They try to, see if the guy can maybe be paid off, maybe they can get the guy to leave them alone, but once they find out that, he's in it for real, they pretty much sort of give up, really.
Well, I mean, that scene right there where they're offering him the money, they actually had no intention of letting him keep the money. They wanted to shoot him. So.
Yeah, I get that, but even so, I feel like they're definitely not as God, what am I looking for? They're not as hard as they're coming across. It seemed like from one of the conversations, it seemed like they almost never shot anybody before. So it's not like they're hardcore gangsters. They're just party drug dealers. So this is like entirely out of their depth. At least that's what I understood from the movie.
Yeah, they're not killers or anything. They're just bad guys because they peddle drugs. Oh, well, and they do a few fucked up things in the movie, but, Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty much what they are.
Yeah, I'll say it was. I thought the flashbacks were decently effective. I don't necessarily know if we needed, as many as we got, but I thought they were decently effective, and it shows, quite I think if somebody's watching on the surface, they might not see what's so wrong with a lot of what they were doing, but treating the individual they treated the way they treated him was certainly heinous. And as of course you can see where that leads. So it was those are somewhat difficult scenes to watch, and I mean in a positive way. They elicited quite an emotional response. So I mean the movie certainly did some positive things. I was sort of disappointed because I've heard, after you mentioned it, I've heard decently positive things about this one, and I wasn't blown away like I was hoping I might be.
Not your cup of tea. But I think there's some like really good scenes in the movie. I mean, even from there's a scene right towards the beginning where he sees one of the guys, doing his little drug dealings, and he's staring at him, and he comes up and is like, what's your problem? What the fuck are you looking at? And he's like, you cunt! Like, you just don't expect it. And that's a really good scene. And then there's a scene about 30-40 minutes into the movie where Richard's having this discussion with the main bad guy, Sonny, and there's a bit of threatening kind of going on there, and it's just really good conversation there, that scene. And even towards the end, I think it's got some quotable, some good quotes to kind of draw out of the movie, like especially at the end where he's got that last guy there, and he's going on about, you're supposed to be a monster, now I'm the beast, and, there's blood on my hands from what you made me do. I just really enjoy the dialogue in those scenes.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot that you can probably take from this movie, should you, wish to. It's a pretty emotional story at times, although one thing that bothered me, we see the brother with the main character from the beginning of the movie, and I mean, even you said in your synopsis that the brother dies, from what the drug dealers do. So I mean, it was pretty. I mean, I just don't know how much seeing the brother and knowing he was dead, just. I mean, it just I don't know. It didn't do anything for me. It did to me anyway. It didn't make it feel any more emotional. It just. Oh, hey, that guy's dead and he's with him. Okay, I don't know. I mean, and just to be clear, I'm not trying to diss on the movie. It's like there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot in this movie to enjoy, and I sort of like the somewhat, like I said, the sort of realistic approach it took to this type of thing, and I really liked the whole gas mask thing when he's taunting those drug dealers. I thought that was pretty.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. Like my interest level went up like 95%.
Yeah, it adds a bit of a slasher aspect, which I'm sure you appreciate it.
That line, don't talk about an elephant. It brings, yeah, I found that pretty amusing. So there's certainly some funny things in this movie. Some great things in this movie. It just didn't do as much as I was hoping for. I noticed this is the same director, and I don't watch that many British movies, but I noticed this is the same director who did a movie titled This Is England, which is a movie I've seen a few times, and it's definitely a decent movie. So, like I said, this movie's decent in its own way, so I'm just sort of happy this director seems consistent.
I just think it's a really well-written movie. It's a simple story, but it's got great dialogue, some good performances, and I just enjoyed the whole thing. I know I'm watching a good movie, at least for me, it's a good movie when I can just later on go on YouTube and watch a specific scene. Any movie that has scenes like that, multiple scenes where, you just have to go watch them from time to time, it just lets me know I definitely enjoy it, and I think it's a good movie. I give the movie a 9 out of 10. I'm definitely happy with what it is, and I always enjoy repeat viewings of it.
I gotta just keep this short. I enjoyed a decent amount about the movie. It just lacked the punch I was looking for. I'll probably watch it again. It's not like it's a bad movie. I do think it was, at least in my personal opinion, I found it slightly below average. But I'm also not a giant action movie guy most of the time. So, and this was like action drama. It was an interesting movie. I'll probably give this a 6.5. And I could I'd probably round that down to a 6. And so it's below average, but it's not like it's a waste of time. It's definitely worth seeing, and there's a decent amount of the movie to enjoy. It did knock me off my feet, and I was sort of hoping for, especially from the plot, I was hoping for a bit more of an emotional punch, and I mean personally, I just never got that. So if you did, I'm happy for you.
Well, I did. I thought it had an emotional punch, but maybe you just need to be punched.
I'm okay with that. If I ever make my way over to his trailer, I will not be coming your way.